SN56.29. Monks, there are these four noble truths. What four? The noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of the origin of suffering, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. These are the four noble truths. Of these four noble truths, monks, there is a noble truth that is to be fully understood. There is a noble truth that is to be abandoned. There is a noble truth that is to be realized. There is a noble truth that is to be developed. And what, monks, is the noble truth that is to be fully understood? The noble truth of suffering is to be fully understood. The noble truth of the origin of suffering is to be abandoned. The noble truth of the cessation of suffering is to be realized. The noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering is to be developed. Therefore, monks, an exertion should be made to understand this is suffering, this is the origin of suffering, this is the cessation of suffering, this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. That's the end of the sutta. So here the Buddha says that the noble truth of suffering is to be understood. So we have to understand suffering. Now to understand suffering, we have to know where suffering comes from. And we know suffering comes from attachment to our five aggregates. And also you can say there is suffering because we have a self. We have an identity view. We have this conceit, I am or I exist. So all this is a tangle, is what we call pasikat, like a string, all connected, all tied up. So we have to unravel this slowly. So we have to understand from learning the Dhamma. First we learn the theory. And we learn the theory from the Dhamma, then we practice meditation to sharpen our mind. When we sharpen our mind, then we see things more clearly. So these two things we develop at the same time. As we meditate, we learn the Dhamma. As we meditate, we learn the Dhamma, and we keep progressing in this way. These are the two cornerstones of the holy life. Learning the original Dhamma of the Buddha, and practicing samatha meditation. In fact, in the Buddha's teachings, there's only one meditation, that is samatha meditation. The practice of vipassana is in a way not meditation, it is called contemplation. Contemplation means listening to the Dhamma and contemplating the Dhamma, reflecting on the Dhamma. So to understand this noble truth of suffering, we have to learn from the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, things like the five aggregates, things like the six sense bases, things like dependent origination, things like the four elements, all these. And then the noble truth of the origin of suffering is to be abandoned. The origin of suffering is craving. So craving has to be abandoned. But for craving to be abandoned, it's not so easy. Firstly, you have to see, realize that craving is a source of suffering. And then even though you know craving is a source of suffering, if your mind is not strong, you cannot let go. A lot of things we know is wrong, but we cannot let go. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So we have to make our mind strong by meditation, and then only we can let go of this craving. And then the noble truth of the cessation of suffering is to be realized. That means nibbana, letting go of greed, hatred and delusion. That is a long process. And then the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering is to develop. The Noble Eightfold Path is to develop. And in the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 117, it says that the Noble Eightfold Path is to be developed one by one. The factors are starting with right view. First, you must get right view from studying the Buddha's words, and then right view will bring you to practice right speech, and right speech will bring you to right action, and right action will bring you to right livelihood. Right livelihood will bring you to right effort, right recollection, right concentration. That's how the Noble Eightfold Path is to be practiced, is to be developed. And the most important thing to understand is that to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, to develop the Noble Eightfold Path, you must always start with right view. You don't start with right view, you have not entered the Noble Eightfold Path.